So let's talk about the words that narcissists hate. They're usually the ones that are trying to get you. And if you want to know about the narcissist's favorite sayings, check out my video on the narcissist's favorite sayings. They have their own little collection of things that they love to say to drive you insane, to make you feel small, to devalue you, to make you feel like you shouldn't even be a speck of dust. I mean, I've had so many people say to me, I think he or she wants me to actually kill myself. But that is not true, because then there we go, their source of supply. So basically, they love getting the supply, that narcissistic supply, that thing that feeds their ego. They want to get it from as many sources as they possibly can. And if you want to know more about narcissistic supply, check out my video on narcissistic supply, where I actually define the whole thing. But basically, what they're trying to do is make them feel more powerful over you by controlling you and driving you crazy. So, they bring you in with love bombing, and they get you going, and they make you think they're so wonderful and so perfect because they're really, really charismatic, and they're terrific at making that you think that they are perfect in some way, whether it's in a business setting or a relationship setting. They come on with this charismatic, I'm so perfect for you way of being, and maybe even offer to do all kinds of things for you. And they might even do one or two things for you in the beginning. A lot of it is offering and future faking and all that sort of thing. And if you want to know more about future faking, check out my video on future faking as well. What can you do to actually get their goat, like actually annoy the crap out of them? So here are some words that narcissists absolutely hate. Number one is any kind of praise or any kind of adulation or respect or anything about anyone else. They really cannot take that. Even if you just say, wow, I really admire that person, they're really good at this. Or even if you just compliment them in some way, they're really great in business. Or I like their house. Somehow any kind of compliment about someone else becomes something about them. It becomes something that irritates them, that bothers them in some way, that maybe you like them better, or you think more highly of them than you think of them. And so therefore it becomes a threat to them in some way. So any kind of nice words about somebody other than them is a problem. Number two is, that's not true. If you just literally say, I think you're lying, then they hate that. Especially if you have proof that they're lying, or that that they're not telling the truth. I mean, you could literally show them the proof right in front of their face, and they will go right to projection or denial or all those other kinds of things. And definitely check out my video on what happens when you catch a narcissist in a lie. There's several different things that they normally do, but they really, really hate it if you just simply say, and you just say it factually. You don't have to say it with emotion or anger or anything like that. You can just say it as if you're like reporting the news, like that's just not true. So that's number two. Number three is, I will not. In other words, I will not go with you. I will not do that thing that you want. I will not go along with your plan to defraud somebody or whatever it is. I had a narcissistic client one time who used to say to me, Rebecca, you're really going to be lonely in heaven by yourself. And you like to try to goad me into doing something that I didn't want to do. No, I just said, no, I will not do that. So that's number three, is I will not. All right, number four is similar, which is I cannot. Like literally, I can't do that. I can't do that right now. I can't do that ever. I can't I'm not physically able, I'm not emotionally able, I'm not spiritually able, I'm not able, I just cannot help you in whatever way it is that you want me to do. And they don't like that. I cannot, I will not happening. They don't want to hear that. And the next one is, you lost. I mean, even if it's just playing a game or something and they happen to lose, you lost. They don't want to hear you lost. Even if they did lose, they don't want to hear about that. So, you can't actually say, because they're going to have all kinds of reasons why, maybe it looks like they lost, but they didn't actually lose. Namely, probably because you cheated or something happened that caused them to, make it look like they lost, even though they definitely did win. And if you are so ready to be the winner, give me an I win in the comments. Okay, the next one is, you're wrong. So, again, even if they are wrong and you give them proof of it, I mean, you could be showing them something on your phone or showing them a piece of paper or something that actually proves to them that they are wrong. They're never going to admit that they were wrong. And so for those of you who are dealing with a narcissist, don't waste your breath trying to prove them wrong, because they're never going to admit to it. The words that sound something like, oh my gosh, you are totally right. I'm 100% wrong. I am so sorry. You totally didn't deserve that behavior. I am terrible. You think that you're ever going to hear those words? No. I mean, you're better off waiting for goldfish to fly, or, the moon to be made out of green cheese, or whatever it is. I mean, anything is more possible than that. I mean, they're really not going to do that. So, you just have to believe that, karma will win out. You use the tactics that I teach you on how to win in other ways, creating your strategy and your leverage and all of the things that I teach you. And you will have to prove them wrong in a different way, because, just by simply saying you're wrong, they hate that, and that you're not going to get anywhere with it. The next one is, I don't care. I mean, what is worse to a narcissist? You think that being mean to a narcissist is the worst thing, or fighting back against them is the worst thing? Actually, no. The worst thing to a narcissist is that you are completely apathetic, that you just seriously don't care at all. I mean, when you can get to a point where someday maybe you don't even remember that narcissist's name, or what they look like, or what they did to you, or anything like that, that's actually the best revenge on a narcissist, because they hate that. They don't want to be irrelevant. They'd rather be in your face and having you complain about them and think that they're a horrible person than be completely irrelevant. So they absolutely hate the words, I don't care. Okay, so the next one is, I'm busy, which actually is very closely related to the ninth one, which is not now. So I'm busy or not now, meaning I can't be with you right now. I can't do what you want right now. I will not do what you want right now, or maybe ever. And they really don't want to hear that. I mean, so with I'm busy or not now, they expect you to move mountains and drop everything for them right now. Or they'll just walk right into your office or walk right into your house and expect and demand to have attention drawn upon them immediately. Or maybe they walk into a restaurant and they expect the best table right away. And if people don't immediately all, flock to giving them what it is that they want, then they actually are, personally affronted. And with narcissists, you're either for them or against them. And so if they don't perceive you to be 100% for them and giving you every minute of attention, every second of the day, immediately when they want it, then obviously you're against them, right? So that brings me to the last one, which is the word that they hate the most, which is no, in any way, shape, or form. Narcissists have no boundaries. They don't think that they should have any boundaries. They feel entitled. And so, if you say the word no in any way, shape, or form, it is a personal affront to them. They are personally triggered. That narcissistic injury gets triggered, and there comes out flying the narcissistic rage, and hell hath no fury like a narcissist scorned. So anyway, those are the 10 phrases that narcissists hate the most. And when you are going to negotiate with them, you should keep those in the back of your mind and either use them strategically or don't use them at all, depending on what it is that you want to accomplish.
I'm going to count from 5 to 1 because I want to give you the best one last. Oh, yes. I'm saving the best one for last. So, number 5. We're going to start with number 5. Number 5 is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You start with, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't understand. I'm sorry that we can't agree. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You just say, I'm sorry, because it's a disarming phrase. Now be careful, because remember that anything you put your hand to is a trial exhibit, and you don't want to be apologizing for things and then make it look like you're actually saying something, that you did something wrong. What you're doing is you're disarming. You're disarming. Remember, you're shutting down this narcissist. You're disarming the narcissist. You're reclaiming your control. Sometimes you can just say, I'm sorry that we don't seem to be on the same page. It seems that there's a misunderstanding here. I'm sorry that it seems that you're upset, and perhaps we need to continue this conversation another day. You can even say, I'm sorry, it seems that I maybe didn't explain this to you properly, and we can't continue this now. Whatever it is that you need to say, it's a disarming phrase. It's something that they're not going to say unless it's a manipulation, because everything they do is a manipulation. So number 5 is, I'm sorry. It's just a way to shut them down, disarm them. Number 5, I'm sorry. Number 4 is, we can resume this conversation when you're ready to respect me, because do not sit and have a conversation with anybody when they're being disrespectful to you. If they're screaming at you, if they're yelling at you, if they're being derogatory toward you, if they are saying things that are, not productive, you don't have to sit there and have a conversation. You're not getting anywhere with it anyway. So you can just say, we can resume this conversation when you're ready to be respectful. And then excuse yourself. Here's the one thing that I say all the time. There are certain things that are negotiable, and there are certain things that are not. Terms of contracts are negotiable. Your self-worth, not. Your self-respect, not. Ever. So you can always resume conversations when the person is ready to be respectful. And you don't have to yell, and you don't have to scream, and you don't even have to say it with emotion. You don't have to say, we can resume this when you're ready to be respectful. You don't have to be like that. Okay? You don't have to respond in kind. You just say, we can resume this conversation when you can be respectful. Thank you. And then nicely get up and walk away. Okay? And if they say, don't walk away from me, that's not respectful, blah, 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 whatever it is, you just say, oh, that's not respectful. Thank you. And that's it. And if you agree, put respect me in the comments right now. I want you to put that in the comments right now. Respect me, because I want you to remember that that's one of the most important things in any relationship, is to demand respect of yourself. And that's an okay thing. That's not only an okay thing, this should be a non-starter. Okay, it should be a non-starter. Number 3 is, I agree. And again, this is something you got to be very careful with what you're doing. Because remember, everything is a potential trial exhibit. So you can say things like, I agree with that that's what you believe. I agree that that's what you think. I agree that we disagree. I agree that that's your perspective. In other words, you're not agreeing with anything. You're just agreeing that that's what they think, but just hearing the words, I agree, is just sort of like a salve for people. It's sort of like music to their ears. So when you say I agree, it's sort of like, okay, they hear I agree. So that's number 3. I agree. Number 4 or number 2, I'm working my way up. So whether it's number 4 or number 2, depending on how you're like looking at it, is no. Just no, because that will definitely shut them down, especially if they're used to you saying yes, especially if they're used to you going along to get along, because that happens a lot of times when you're in these relationships. I know, I've been there too, but then you end up regretting it. La, 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 I know how it is, right? That one is the next one. It's just no, especially if, you just really don't want to do that thing or whatever. Just say no. Just say no, like the old drug campaign. Just say no. All right, ready? You ready for that last one? Are you so ready to find out what that last one is? A good one. I told you it's a good one. This is the most important one. This will definitely shut down that narcissist. This is definitely going to help you reclaim that control. This is definitely going to help you disarm them. They hate this word in a lot of ways, actually. Whatever. This is literally the one word that narcissists absolutely cannot stand. A lot of the ways that narcissists tend to manipulate you is by sandbagging, catching you when you're off guard. And so what this is going to do is not allow that anymore. So you can just shut that down. If you're new here, welcome. We invite you to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss one single video. Just one little pearl, one little tip, one tactic, one strategy could be the game changer that could really change your life. Make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell. If you're new here, I am Rebecca Zung. I'm a communications expert, an attorney, a best-selling author of Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. And I'm so glad that you're here because I know how exhausting and frustrating it can be interacting with a narcissist, especially when you're dealing with those manipulative comments, those things that they say that are just carefully placed enough to make you go crazy, right? They want you to be doubting yourself. They want you to be feeling off kilter. They want to keep that control over you, that grip over you. That's how they get their narcissistic supply. If you have the right responses, you can disarm them, you can protect your peace, you can take back your power, right? So the first one, obviously, is the gaslighter. So obviously, every narcissist gaslights. It's an insidious tactic that they use. This is when they try to make you question your memory, your perception of events, your reality. They might say something like, you're overreacting, that never happened. And when you hear this, you feel like, wait a minute, I know that happened. I know this is what I'm feeling. I know that's what I saw. After a long period of time of being exposed to this, because they're so sure of the way that they put things. My dad used to say, whatever you say it with authority and people will believe you. I mean, that's basically how they get people to believe them because they're just saying this with authority. Nope, that's not how it happened. So your best comeback to that is simply, I know what happened, or I trust my memory. What it does is really two things. It affirms your reality, but it also signals to them that their attempt to manipulate you is no longer going to work. And it shifts that energy. It starts to shift that dynamic and that power dynamic and let them know that there's no more openings here. There's no more vulnerability here. You know what you're doing. You know what you're saying, and you're starting to stand in your power and in your truth. And that is so incredibly powerful in shifting that dynamic. That actually, in it of itself, becomes more leverage. If you hear them saying something like, everybody agrees with me, you're the only one who sees it this way, you can just say something like, I'm comfortable with my perspective. I understand we have different perspectives. I understand others might have different perspectives. Everyone is entitled to theirs, but I know what happened. I know what I saw. I know what the facts are. Thank you. You don't need to say it with any sort of anger, defensiveness. I always say, don't never jade, never justify, argue, defend, or explain, right? But you're taking control. You're not seeking that external validation. You don't really care what anybody else has to say. You are secure in your own viewpoint. And just that alone will start to send a narcissist into a panic mode, because they thrive on creating that self-doubt within you. That's gaslighting, the gaslighter. The next one is the blame shifter. The blame shifter, that's another type of manipulative comment that they make. They love to shift blame on others, especially if they're the ones who are at fault or didn't do what they were supposed to do, did something they weren't supposed to, whatever it is. So what they will do is they will blame it on you many times, and even things that are clearly not your fault. This comment is designed to make you take on that responsibility, or you take on that guilt, or you take on that shame, or whatever it is. And especially if they know that you're vulnerable to it, then they're going to keep going with that. So you can just say something like, I know I'm responsible for my actions, just as you're responsible for yours, but I'm not going to accept blame for something that I didn't do, or I didn't cause, or that isn't mine. You can acknowledge your own accountability and whatever you need to be accountable for, but firmly reject any sort of attempt to transfer guilt or responsibility onto you that isn't yours. Just simply don't pick it up. Just strip away that ability to manipulate the situation to their advantage. The next type of manipulative comment is the criticizer. They love to criticize you. They love to put you down, especially even, little passive aggressive remarks like, oh, that's such a great thing that you got promoted, especially given your background. They'll criticize you in ways that are designed to undermine your self-esteem and make you feel dependent on them, or just to put themselves in a position of being higher than you. They might say things like, you would never succeed without me, or no one else would ever love you the way that I love you. And you can say something like, I know that my success is my responsibility, or I know that I'm capable of creating incredible relationships wherever I go. Just letting them know that you're rejecting their criticism and you're affirming yourself, your self-worth, and who you are, which again, narcissists do not love. They do not like that. If they say things like, no one else would ever put up with you other than me, they're trying to make you feel unworthy and trying to make you feel like, who else would ever want you? You can just say, I know that I deserve to be treated with respect, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than that, just as you do, right? You can say, just as you do. And you just are reaffirming your self-worth, your boundaries, and making it clear that you're not tolerating any sort of disrespect. If you are getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist, make sure to get my free Crush My Negotiation Prep Playbook to get started, because that way you can get started with negotiating with narcissists in a positive way, that will help you tremendously. So just go to winmynegotiation.com and get started there. Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today. The next thing is the guilt tripper. The guilt tripper. They love to guilt trip you, especially those covert narcissists, right? And they might say something like, after everything I've done for you, I can't believe this is how you're repaying me. And they want you to feel indebted to them. They want you to feel like you owe them your life forever. And so therefore, whatever it is that they were giving you was conditional to begin with, and it was only given with manipulation in mind. So your best comeback might be something like, I very much appreciate you. I very much appreciate your help. I very much appreciate all the things that you've done for me. And I also remain an independent person and I can make my own decisions based on what I know is best for me or best for my career, or best for my family, or whatever it is that you're doing. Just make it clear that you do appreciate them, but you didn't see it as, oh, this is something that came with strings attached to it. Everything that happens with a narcissist, there's always like some sort of a string attached. It's some sort of it's a relationship of reciprocity, right? You know, I'll do this for you, but only what am I going to get out of this? And you don't need that kind of relationship in your life. Everybody should be coming from a place of abundance. Just give, and, you know, whatever happens, happens, right? Because that's how relationships should be. So, I mean, obviously you don't want to be the doormat who's like never seeing any return, but you know, it shouldn't be all about like, oh, you're so selfish. You're not doing anything for me. Say something like, I'm taking care of myself. Self-care is important. Self-care is important for everybody, including you. The next thing is the silent treatment. If there's a silent treatment, it's definitely a form of passive aggression where they're trying to punish you. They're not responding right away, or they're not responding at all. If they say something like, oh, you know how busy I am, you know I needed space, or you know this, or you know, you can always say communication is key in any kind of successful relationship. I'm here to let you know that I'm going to be respected within this relationship. I'm not going to be manipulated into reading your mind or trying to wait for you to respond to me. They have to be responsible to share with you whatever it is that they need to share. The next one is the devaluer. They're going to tear you up. They're going to tear you down. They're going to do whatever they can to keep you off balance, because that's, again, a way of controlling you. And so if they say things like, you know, you're so lucky that I'm with you, no one else would want you, it's a manipulation. So you can just say, I'm with you by choice, not by necessity. I'm fine with being by myself. Come from a position of strength. You always have a choice in what you are doing. So you can be confident in who you are, and you can even say, you know, I'm confident in who I am, as you should be. The next thing is the projectionist. Deflection and projection, they love that. So if they're not going to blame it on you, the blame shifter, then they might project it onto somebody else. Whatever they're trying to do is it's trying to just get it off of them. And especially if they know that they are doing something that they shouldn't have or whatever, what they might try to do is blame you instead, confuse you instead. Oh, you're so selfish. All you do is you think about yourself, and you're being too dramatic. You're too sensitive. You can just say things like, I'm entitled to my feelings as you are. I will express them in a way that's healthy for me, so that when they decide to treat you with disrespect, you can basically say, in not so many words, this is not going to be okay for me. Those are the main types so far. I want you to know that you can always choose to walk away as well. So if they are manipulating you through interrupting you on a regular basis or accusing you of yelling, you can always just be like, you know what? This conversation is not one that's working for me. And we can continue this conversation at another time when you can be respectful. In each instance, you're just saying this without emotion, with complete conviction, and not judging them either. Don't put them down either. You don't say it loudly, you don't scream it, because as soon as you lose control, you're handing control over them to them.
Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life, and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today.
You don't want to miss out on today's topic, 3 words that are going to shut down a narcissist instantly. That last one is going to shock them. And these words may seem simple, but that way that they work is incredibly powerful, especially against that pesky narcissist. So let's just dive right in. So the power of words in narcissistic interactions is so key. So before I reveal these 3 words, let's talk about why words matter so much when you're dealing with a narcissist. Narcissists thrive on control. They thrive on control. They thrive on manipulation and pushing your emotional buttons. They want to provoke. They want to bait you. They want to trigger you. That's what they want to do. They want to do that all the time. Let's not give them more power. So the right word said in the right way can throw them off their game. So the 3 words that I'm about to give you are going to put you back in the driver's seat. So let's get right to it. First one is sort of like a phrase, right? But that's interesting. And it's sort of like, instead of you getting angry, you're just kind of getting curious. You can use a hybrid of this too. It's just sort of like, hmm. Okay. I know it seems really simple, but the reason why it works is because they feed off of your emotional reactions. So they just want you to defend yourself, get angry, feel guilty. But when you respond with, that's interesting, and I always say, I always wear jade, I'm half Chinese, so I always wear jade, but never jade. Never justify, argue, defend, or explain. Because why? You're never going to convince them. You've never seen a narcissist go, oh my God, I'm totally convinced now. You're never going to see them do that. So you never defend yourself. You never feel guilty. You just go, oh, that's interesting. So you're just neutral. They can't stand neutrality because it means that they're not in control. If they say you never care about anyone but yourself, you go, oh. And instead of defending yourself or reacting emotionally, you calmly say, oh, that's interesting. It stops them in their tracks because they don't know how to respond to it. And they say, everybody else thinks you're wrong and I'm right. And rather than just getting upset, you just say, that's interesting. And it just disarms them because they don't know what else to do. They're just feeling isolated and defensive. By saying that's interesting, you just take control of the situation without escalating it. You're not giving them any fuel, which just throws them off. You just kind of get curious. Oh, I mean, if you want, you can even ask questions like, oh, what makes you think that? Or what makes you say that? You don't even have to do that. What I want to know is, if you're going to give it a try, if you're going to try it, just put, I'm trying it. Put that right there in the comments. Go, I'm trying it. I'm trying it. I'm giving it a try. And then I want you to come back and I want you to say if it worked for you. So, because it's definitely going to work. I promise you that it will. It's going to be so hard, especially if they're going to say something that's like super antagonistic or super baiting, triggering. whatever. You're just going to go, oh, okay. All right, that's interesting. And number 2 is maybe, because they crave certainty. They want control. They want predictable reactions from you so they can manipulate you further. But by saying maybe, ambiguity. And ambiguity, again, is something they hate because remember, they think in terms of black and white. Everything to them is black and white, bad, good. Either you're the friend or the enemy. And if you're the enemy, then you're public enemy number 1. They got to take you down. But if you say, if they say you're going to help me with this, right? Instead of giving them a direct answer, you can say maybe. It leaves them feeling uncertain, which weakens their control over you. Oh, you're coming with me to this event, right? I don't know, maybe. And you start having your autonomy. You're starting to disengage. You're pulling back. This is so good. It's so good for you. If you want phrases for disarming narcissists, I want you to go to disarmthenarc.com right now and get them because it'll really help you. Join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Again, help is on the way. And just remember that you can do this. You can do this. Keeps them guessing. You're the one who's in control. You feel secure. They're the insecure ones, not you. It's a subtle way that you're starting to take control and you're not directly confronting them. You're just subtly taking control with one word. When you start doing this, I want you to drop comments below and let me know that you're doing this. All right. And you guys ready for number 3? This is the one that I know is like going to shock them, especially if you guys have established a certain type of a relationship, a certain type of precedent where they're used to getting their way. Can you guess what it is? No. Final word is no. It's truly going to shock them. It's so simple, yet it's so powerful, especially when dealing with narcissists. It almost feels impossible. It's really your ultimate boundary setter. I hate hearing no because it's a direct rejection to their ego. It's a blow to their ego, but they will recover. They'll be okay. So if they ask you to cancel your plans for them and you say, no, it's not going to work for me, that's soul crushing for them. Or if they ask you to do something that you're not comfortable with, lending them money or helping them with something that you don't want to do, and you say, I can't do that, I'm not going to, it's clear, and you're not leaving any room for negotiation, they don't like it, you're standing in your power, let them have a tantrum. It's okay. Let them know that it's a clear no and it's non-negotiable. And if you're struggling with saying no, I really want you to get my phrases for disarming narcissists. It's free at disarmthenarc.com. Just go get them. It's really important that you just start to disengage. I think it's important. Top strategies: shut down the manipulation, get you back in that driver's seat, grab them, click the link. And remember, this is just a game for them. It's such a total game for them. It's a game for them to have that power over you and maintain that hold over you. You're like a possession for them. That's really what you are. You're a possession. They see you as whatever it is a figment in their mind as theirs, but they don't really see you as a person. You have to start to disengage. I want to give you everything that you need to finally power through and break free from that narcissist. It's just so exhausting. And they make you feel small. They make you feel like you're going crazy. They make you feel paralyzed. And know that feeling. They literally suck the energy out of you. And especially the ones that are like, really, really good at it. The covert narcissists are the ones that are really good at it. Where they have something that we call plausible deniability, which means that they have this ability to literally do things where everybody else in the world thinks that they're amazing, wonderful, good human beings, and they can keep themselves looking pristine, perfect, not a hair touched on their head. So when you go to tell people what they've done, everyone else goes, I don't know. that doesn't seem so bad. Or maybe you're blowing it out of proportion, or maybe that was inadvertent. You know, they seem like such a good person. They seem so nice. So you end up seeming like you're the crazy one, or you're contributing to it too, or they spin it around so that they seem like they're the calm ones and you're the ones out of control. And they do this so that the marriage counselors are on board with this plan too. I mean, it is unbelievable how good they are at this. So if you really want to be able to spin this around, you really want to be able to stop this craziness, you want to be able to disarm the narc. And by the way, I've got a whole download that goes with this. Go to disarmthenarc.com so that you can get your own download that goes with this, get your own phrases. So you don't even need to make sure you write all this down, because I'm going to just give it to you. Just go to disarmthenarc.com so that you can just download it. All right. So here are your 20 phrases. Ready? Number 1, I'm not going to tolerate your behavior. I'm not going to tolerate your behavior. You can just say that, and you don't need to scream it, and you don't need to yell it, and you don't need to say it in any sort of fashion. You don't need to have tone. If they're screaming, they're yelling, they're saying things that are in any way, you know, you're not feeling good about it, you just need to say, I'm not going to tolerate your behavior. Here's something that I'm going to say to you. There's certain things that are negotiable, and there's certain things that are not. Here's what's negotiable: terms of contracts. Here's what's not negotiable: your self-respect. So, you know, you can just say, I'm not going to tolerate your behavior. So that's number 1. Number 2, you can say, I'm not going to allow you to speak to me that way. If you're not feeling comfortable with it, they're speaking to you in a way where they're degrading you, they're talking down to you, they're disrespecting you, they're yelling at you, you can just say, I'm not going to allow you to speak to me that way. And you don't have to. That's the beautiful thing. Nobody is holding you hostage. You can get up, you can walk away. And even if they yell, you know, you don't get up, don't walk away, it's okay. It really is okay, because you have your self-respect. So you can just say, I'm not going to allow you to speak to me that way. And you don't have to. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, I'm not going to let you treat me like this. You know, again, I'm telling you right now that narcissists, the people that they respect the most, are the people who don't allow them to treat however they want. You will start to see a shift in how they treat you. They may scream, they may yell, they may act like they don't like it, but you will start to see little shifts in their behavior. You have been conditioned by them, and you need to start conditioning them back. So when you start to say, I'm not going to tolerate your behavior, I'm not going to allow you to speak to me that way, and I'm not going to allow you to treat me like this, things will start to change. The next one is, I deserve to be treated with respect. So you're drawing a line. You're saying, I deserve to be treated with respect, and you're letting them know there's a new game in town. Things are different now. I give people a 3-step process. Step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. You're no longer walking backwards. You're pivoting. You're walking forward now. And as you're making that pivot, you're going to start to present your offers. You're going to start to speak. You're going to start to stand up for yourself. And as this process unfolds incrementally, step 3, you're going to start to break free. Number 5, you need to stop this immediately. You know, when you start to create boundaries, that's when they start to realize that there's a new game in town. So in that vein, you're no longer saying you can contact me in 57 different ways. You're saying you only get to contact me in one way. Maybe it's just through text message. Maybe it's just through email. Email is the best, by the way. There's a time and date stamp. Everything is documented the right way. You need to stop this immediately, number 5. Number 6, I'm warning you, if you don't stop, I will take action. Is it a threat? Yes, but you are going to follow through with it. What kind of action? Who knows? You may call your attorney. You may call the police. You may leave. Who knows what that action is? But action means action. You need to follow through with your action. Whatever that is, you've got to follow through with it. Because if you don't, they will never believe you ever again. That's number 6. Number 7, this has to stop now. If it doesn't, what are you going to do about it? Number 8, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And if it doesn't stop, what are you going to do about it? Number 9 is similar. Enough is enough. You know, when things aren't happening the way you want them to, what are you going to do about it? The next one is, I can see that you're upset. I like when you can start to observe their behavior. I like when you can start to take yourself out of it and just start to watch them, because that will help you no longer be baited by them. The more you can start to do that, the less you will be dragged into their conversation, the less you will feel like you're sucked into that vortex of insanity. The next one is, you're out of line. You're just letting them know you are not in a place that I feel comfortable. So that's number 10. And number 12 is, you're crossing the line. Number 12 is, you're letting them know that you had set a boundary and they're no longer on the other side of that boundary. You're crossing the line. You're crossing the line that I have set for you. So I'm not allowing you to pass that line. Number 13 is, you're pushing your luck. You're pushing your luck. Number 14 is, you've pushed me too far. You've pushed me too far. Number 15 is, if you don't back off, I'm going to take action. And again, I want you to actually take action. I want you to actually take a look at the options that you have and actually take action based on the options that you have, you know, whatever they are. So, you know, if you're in a court case, then you can take a look at the cases that, you know, the options that you have in your situation. But, you know, if you don't have a court case, then, you know, take a look at whatever your options are. But, you know, just take a look at, should you file a motion? Should you, you know, leave, or whatever it is that you have, you know, your options are. The next one is, you might want to consider. So in other words, you are just saying something to them about what they may want to consider based on what's happening in front of them at that moment. The next one is, you have every right to your opinion. It's fine that they have their opinion, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's your opinion, which is fine. And then the next one is, that's an interesting perspective. You're just observing, again, their behavior. That's an interesting perspective. And I love that one because it's observing what it is that they said. You're not getting involved with whatever it is that they said. You're just saying, that's an interesting perspective. And it just keeps things neutral. The next one is, your anger is not my responsibility, because a lot of times they want to say, you made me angry. This happened because of you. And this pushes it back on them and says, hey, you are angry. Your anger is not my responsibility. You know, just the same as if you're angry. Their anger is not your responsibility. Somebody can choose to get angry or choose to stay calm. Nobody's anger is anybody else's responsibility but their own. You know, how you choose to respond to a situation is everybody's own responsibility, own choice. And that is such an eye-opening thought. It really is very eye-opening about anger. And the last one is one of my favorites, which is I agree with you. Now, you got to be careful with this one because you don't want to say, I agree with you that I'm a horrible mother or a deadbeat dad. But I like to say, I agree with you on certain things because you can say, I agree with you that that's your perspective. I agree with you that that's what you think. Because, you know, it's a way to kind of calm somebody down in a way, because you're saying, I agree with you, but in a way, you're saying you're not agreeing to anything. And I love being able to do that. I love being able to say, I agree with you and agreeing to nothing. It's kind of a trick. In a way, it's ethically manipulating the manipulator because you're actually saying, I agree, and you're agreeing to zero. So I'm just going to throw in a couple more for you just for fun, so that you have a few more. A few others are okay, and you just say nothing. You just acknowledge that they spoke and take no bait. You just say, okay. And like the less you say, the more they just want you to say more, and you've said nothing. You say, okay. Another one you can say is, you know, using we phrases like, we can fix this or we can work on this, because that kind of diffuses situations as well. Another thing that you can say is, I hear you, you know, because I hear you just acknowledges that you're hearing them. And that makes people feel better because you're acknowledging them. It acknowledges what people are saying, and you're not defending yourself and you're not fighting back. You're just acknowledging what somebody is saying. So it's a good thing to do sometimes. And you can also say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that's what you think. I'm sorry that's how this is going. I mean, it's not really saying I'm sorry at all. You're just saying, I'm sorry that's what you think. Or the other one you could do is what I hear you saying, and then just sort of repeat what they say. I am going to give you 10 phrases translated. I'm going to tell you what they say and then what they actually mean in this video. I'm going to decode their secret language. They love to use things like word salad and gaslighting and all sorts of things to kind of destabilize you and manipulate you and confuse you. It's like throwing words into a basket and jiggling them all around, so that you're like over there going, what is that? Is that scrambled eggs? I don't even know, right? But they also say things that they don't actually mean. And so what I'm trying to do here is I want to put the power back in your hands so that you really know what's happening. So many times at the end of a narcissistic relationship, people are like, what was that? You know, was any of it real? What can I hold my hat on here? It was like a house of cards. Like there was no structure to the whole thing at all. So I want to save you that headache. I want to save you that heartache and tell you what it is that they're saying and what it is that they actually mean in this video. All right. I'm going to decode it. It's sort of like in this video, I'm giving you like the decoder ring. When I was a kid, it was like Scooby-Doo, but I'm sure it's something else nowadays. Anyway, so number one is I love you. All right. So I love you does not mean I love you. With a narcissist, I know, big shock, right? But I love you means I love what you can do for me. They need that supply right? That's what narcissists are all about. They need that supply. They need what you can feed for them, what you can do for them, what you can do for their ego, that adulation, that admiration, because that's that endless black hole that can never be fed inside of them, right? So when they say, I love you, it's not about you. It's, I want you to say, I love you back. And I want you to, do something for me, and I want you to bring to me whatever it is that you're going to bring to me. I want you to love me back. I want you to do stuff for me. So it's not looking at you and saying, I love you. It's definitely not selfless at all. So that's number one. Number two is we're soulmates, because they know that that's something that people want to hear. So a lot of times they use that just sort of as a line, because they know that it will sweep people off their feet and get people to swoon. But they also use that to sort of as like, I own you. You are in my world now. You're mine. They think of people as possessions, not as I can support you in what it is that you want to do. You belong to me. I control you. If you're my soulmate, that you're part of my reign, you're in my web, you are in my lair, whether it's a female or male. Okay. So that's what we're soulmates means. Number three, my ex was crazy or psycho. That means that they probably weren't crazy, or if they were, they probably made them that way, and they probably smeared them, and they probably treated them terribly. And you know how it is with narcissists. You have to, everything's black and white. They probably wanted to have an amicable resolution, and then they had to take them down before they took them down, and it turned into scorched earth litigation, and there was a smear campaign, and it turned into that whole thing. You know how that goes. And the psycho is probably the person that you're looking at, just saying. So there's that. Number four is the trust one. So they'll either say, you're not trustworthy to you, or you can trust me about themselves. So, but there's going to definitely be a conversation around trust, and whatever the conversation is, it's a lie, So if they say you're not trustworthy, what they're really saying is they're not trustworthy. And then if they say you can trust me, that's probably a lie too. So either way, it ain't good, whatever that is. Because if they bring up trust, it's just kind of an icky conversation. All right. So that's number four. Number five is let's just forget about the past. This is all in the future faking conversation. Let's just forget about the past. Why are we talking about the past? I don't want to be held accountable. I don't want to hear about my sins. I want my charm to work as it has before. Let's just move on. All of that. It's all an icky conversation. So that's that. Number six is you interrupted me. Why are you bringing that up now? All of that is I don't want to be held accountable. Anytime they say you interrupted me, why are you bringing that up? This isn't a good time. It's all around I don't want to be held accountable. That's what that really means. I don't want to be held accountable. Just like let's forget about the past. I don't want to be held accountable. All of that translates to, there's so many different phrases that lead to translating to mean I don't want to be held accountable. Right? You interrupted me. There's so many different phrases that lead to that, but that's what that is. Do you agree? Give me an agree in the chat. This is probably way more than 10, but that's okay. Number 7, I never said that, or you heard me wrong, you're remembering wrong. I don't want to be held accountable. That's what that means. Number 8, you're too sensitive. That is, I don't want to have to deal with you. I don't want to have to deal with your emotions. I'm like, this is too much for me. I don't want to have to like show empathy toward you. I don't feel empathy, so I don't want to have to show it. So you're too sensitive, right? Because they don't feel any empathy, so I don't want to have to show any empathy, so therefore you're too sensitive. And number 9 is with all due respect. With all due respect, or respectfully, that translates into I have no respect for you whatsoever. Yeah, I hate that one, especially because you definitely hear that from men to women, you know, with all due respect. And number 10 is the last one, and number 10 is stop being so selfish. Stop being so selfish is especially from a narcissist, which is anytime you are trying to bring up your own feelings of any kind, that is, I don't want to hear about you. I don't want to hear about your feelings. I don't want to be held responsible. Stop taking any time away from me. Stop taking any supply away from me. You're supposed to be catering to my needs. That's what that translates to. So you're being selfish is that. So you need to not feel guilty when they say that. You need to know that that's what's going on when they say that. It has nothing to do with you being selfish. It has everything to do with the fact that they are actually the selfish ones. And it's okay for you to actually have needs and want to be a whole person in a relationship.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Investing in your mental health can feel like a big decision, but your peace of mind is just as essential as your physical well-being. Life brings challenges, from the anxiety of stress to navigating high conflict relationships, and you really shouldn't have to face them alone. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you could save up to 50% per session on average. For a flat weekly fee, you get consistent quality care right from wherever you are. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and over 5 million people that have been helped worldwide, BetterHelp makes it easy to find support that fits your life, and you can switch therapists anytime. Therapy isn't just for moments of crisis, it's for building boundaries, learning tools, and becoming the most empowered version of yourself. Your well-being is so worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate to get 10% off your first month. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/negotiate.
Remember that a narcissist at their core is a person who needs that constant source of narcissistic supply. You're dealing with a person who's internally like starving, desperate, gasping for breath, gasping for air. It's scarcity at its utmost extreme. They're super fragile. They act super strong, but they are energy vampires because they need that external validation at all times. You are that food source for them. They don't care about you. You're a possession to them. So despite their confident exterior, they're actually quite vulnerable to any sort of perceived criticism, any sort of perceived slight. It's like this glass almost. And any eye roll, any sort of slight of any kind can be that thing that makes them snap. It's called splitting. They instantly go from black to white, good to bad. You are either for them or against them. And if you're against them, you are public enemy number 1. So you have to understand that this is the behavior pattern that you are dealing with. And so when you go to negotiate with them, by the way, that's what you are dealing with. And you're dealing with a person whose literally their brain is like the brain of a toddler. The limbic system part of their brain has an arrested development, and that is the part of the brain that becomes activated when you flip that switch. It's called narcissistic injury, and when that part of the brain becomes activated, that's what you're interacting with. You are not interacting with the prefrontal cortex of the brain. You're not interacting with the part of the brain that is the thinking, cognitive part of the brain that is rational. When you're dealing with that, you have to remember that they're going to become sulky, they're going to become irate, they're going to become pouty, they're going to have a tantrum. If somebody else is stealing the spotlight, if somebody else said something that they don't like, if you interrupt them, they have a problem with all of that. And so they're going to use these methods to control you, to dominate you. They might say things that, you're the only one that thinks that. That is incorrect. You are misremembering. You're trying to manipulate the situation. They're trying to get you to be back under control. They're so desperate to get things back under control because they're just so out of control at that moment. A person who knows who they are, who authentically knows who they are, who authentically stands in their own power, doesn't act this way. You are dealing with a toddler, basically. That's what toddlers do. You take their drink away, they flip out. How do you deal with that? How do you interact with that? Well, the first thing you have to understand is you have to start looking at it as if you are observing them. You have to take yourself out of that situation. Preserve your mental space, preserve your emotional energy, set clear limits on that. Define what behaviors you're going to accept. If a narcissist is frequently making demeaning jokes at your expense, you can just say, I don't appreciate those jokes. Set boundaries. I would say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So what are you doing to turn that around? To course correct this situation? How are you starting to course correct? Setting clear limits, starting to look at that situation as if you are a third party, taking yourself out of it. I can see that you're upset. I'm observing that. They say something really, really awful. You're wearing lipstick. You look like a whore. You don't have to even say a thing. That doesn't mean that you're never going to wear that lipstick again. You don't need to say another word. Number 2 is stay grounded in reality. What is real? What is your what if? What is your evidence in reality? Keeping a clear sense of reality helps counter the effects of gaslighting, of the what ifs. So, for example, if they say they never said anything hurtful, but you know that they did. If they say that never happened, you can keep a journal as a personal reference, and they're going to sneer at you. Why do you have to keep journals? Why do you have to do that? Let them sneer. Let them say the things that they're going to say. They don't want you to have control of any sort. Just stay grounded in reality. You know what's true. You know what's not. And if you're finding this helpful so far, put so helpful in the comments. So helpful, because you are starting to create your narrative instead of theirs. Next is don't feed their ego unless you're doing it for your own benefit. I have this thing called fluff or favor, vomit later, which, you're going to fluff up their ego to get something that you want out of it. Don't do it unless you have to. So don't continue to give them more and more and more supply by continuing to be with them or allowing them to, condition you unless you're doing it for strategic purposes. Don't lead them on. You have your strategy, your leverage, you're anticipating, you know where you're going, that S, L, A, and Y. So once you have your strategy and you know where you're going with this thing, you follow your plan. If you want to get started, go to winmynegotiation.com and get started with my Crush My Negotiation Prep Worksheet. Go to winmynegotiation.com and get started. Literally help thousands and thousands of people. Limited emotional engagement. I say you start to cite even soul distance. Even if you can't like distance yourself and you're still in the same house, you start soul distancing. Engaging emotionally, especially in confrontations, you can lead to exhaustion, but you can start to like know what's true, what's not. You know, you're starting to shut yourself off emotionally. You can't trust them, but that's okay. I can see what's happening here. You can just start acknowledging. So if they use a past mistake, they start bringing up something from 15 years ago, because you brought up something that happened today, you can just say, I acknowledged that mistake. I learned from it. We moved on. Let's focus on the current issue. You know, don't allow them to take that ammunition from 15 years ago to manipulate what's going on today. The next thing is seeking support. Make sure that you have the support and guidance and help that you need. So, you know, I have a support group in my Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Make sure you join that. And I also have a sponsor on this channel, BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung for therapy. If you need access to therapy, it is a sponsor on our channel. So we receive commissions. It doesn't cost you any extra. We just want you to have access to the help and support that you need. Navigating a relationship with a narcissist is challenging at best. It's soul-sucking and draining and emotionally traumatizing at worst. And so you are going to need the help and guidance and support of a lot of different resources. Therapy, people who love you, people who support you. So seeking external perspectives can help you and provide that validation and grounding that you are going to need. So getting your army of people that of light and help and support, who people who are going to love you, is going to be so important. Crucial, really, even. What not to do, don't expect them to change. They're not going to change. They're going to continue to love bomb you and pretend like they're going to change. You know, without professional intervention, it's going to be completely in vain. And they're going to pretend to be empathetic. They are not. They don't care about anybody but themselves. Don't try to have confrontations with them. Don't try to make them care about you or admit that they did wrong or admit all the things that you did for them. All of these things, it just doesn't, none of it's getting you anywhere. It's just going to lead to blow-ups. You need to be strategic in where you're going with this. You need to address concerns in a way that's strategic, tactical, and have a plan. And never, ever, ever compromise your self-worth. You know, I always say, here's what's negotiable: contracts, issues, terms. You know, it's not negotiable: your self-worth, your self-esteem, who you are. Remember that. And remember that you're going to need self-care. You're going to need to take care of yourself. You're going to need to have things that you can pivot your mind to, things that you can make sure that you are looking at to take care of your self-worth, yourself, your well-being, painstaking steps to have those boundaries.
Today, we are diving into why we overuse the word sorry and how it can actually disempower us, especially in high conflict situations. More importantly, I'm going to share what you can say instead so that you can actually have a substitute, so that you can actually get your power back and have a tool so that, you know, in your little arsenal that you will have right there at the ready instead. All right. So saying sorry actually stems from a place, maybe from a good place in some ways. It really is an empathic response a lot of times. A lot of times it stems from not wanting to have conflict, wanting to be the good person, maybe wanting to look like you are getting along with people. A lot of times it's because you have an empathic nature, an empathetic nature, and you are tuned to the emotions of
the other person. You're worried about the other person's feelings and you don't want to hurt the other person. You're immediately going, oh, I'm sorry. You don't want to hurt that other person, right? And so that's a lot of times why you do say sorry. But sometimes it is a trauma response because it could be that you experienced past traumas and you were maybe more frequently made to feel like you were at fault, especially if there was a narcissistic history in your past, and gaslighting or emotional manipulation was present. And so you feel like, oh, let me overcome this stress and anxiety by just constantly overly apologizing, right? That could be a response as well. It could be because you were raised in a culture where you were frequently blamed or taught to put other people first. And so you develop a habit of overly apologizing. Sometimes it is a reflection of deeper issues, but regardless of where it comes from, why it happens, is still not necessarily a great thing, because when it happens, it can be a situation that it devalues you. It can cause you to not necessarily get the respect and honor that you deserve. And it can disempower you. It can cause people to disrespect you. It can actually cause you to not have the confidence that you might want to have as well. What I want to do here is give you some scenarios where you might automatically say sorry when perhaps you could say something else instead that would still communicate a message that where the other person feels heard and gives them the feeling that they matter, which is what you're trying to communicate anyway, and allows you to not say sorry. So here's one example. One example might be where you're running late. And again, like, that is not something that, you would want to be doing normally. Okay. And you do want to, let the other person know that their time is valuable, that you respect them, that you honor them, but you want to shift your language to be something where you're communicating with confidence, with clarity, where you're standing in your authentic power. So you might want to say, instead of sorry, you might want to say, thank you for your patience. This not only acknowledges that other person and acknowledges their time, lets them know that you are being considerate of them. It also keeps you in that position of strength. And another one is if you're in a meeting and you have a differing opinion, instead of saying, sorry, but I see it differently, you can say, I see it differently. Instead of saying sorry, just say, I see it differently, and here's why. This approach opens up a dialogue without diminishing your perspective. Or you can even say, I can see your perspective, but here's why I see it differently. A lot of times you can acknowledge their perspective. I acknowledge your perspective, but I see it differently, and here's why. Because that way you are acknowledging them. I see your perspective. Make sure you don't interrupt, but just, you can say, I'd like to add a point here, something to that effect. That approach acknowledges them. It allows the conversation to continue, but you're not necessarily agreeing, and you're certainly not apologizing. Another way that you can not apologize is declining a request for an invitation. A lot of times you might say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. But sometimes you just don't want to go, or you're just tired, or you don't have the time that you want to give to that. You might want to just say, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the invitation. However, I have a prior commitment. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate you thinking of me. Unfortunately, I am previously engaged. Thank you for the invitation. You don't have to say, sorry, I can't make it. That response shows appreciation to them, appreciation for the offer, firmly states that you are unavailable. No guilt, no apology, no sorry. Thank you. I appreciate you. Please think of me in the future. You can always say that too. When asking for clarification or help, instead of saying, sorry, can you explain this again? You can say, I would appreciate clarity on this. By phrasing your request this way, you show that you value understanding whatever it is that they're trying to convey to you means something to you. Most people would want that, whatever it is that they're trying to convey to you, if they're trying to convey information to you. You're being proactive in gaining the information or getting the information, whatever it is that they're trying to convey to you. If this is helpful for you so far, I want you to put sorry, not sorry in the comments below. And what has helped you the most so far? Which phrase has helped you the most so far? I would love to know in the comments below. I would love to get a dialogue going for this so far. The next one is when you need more time to complete a task. I really think that this is important because you do need to stay in integrity and keep your word to things. So if you have committed to getting something done by a certain date, you do need to go back to the person and say, I'm not going to be able to get it done when I said I was going to. Don't just not do it, because then you are out of integrity and you haven't kept your word. That's not okay either. Your word should be solid to yourself and to the other person, and it should mean something. But don't say sorry. You might want to say something like this: I'm giving this the attention that it deserves and will have it completed by X date. This way you stay in your power. You always want to phrase things in a way that keeps you standing in your power. How can you phrase something that demonstrates that you're standing in your power? I'm giving this the attention that it deserves, that you deserve. I don't want it to be rushed. I don't want you to have a product that has been rushed. I'm committing to you that it will be completed by Saturday, December, whatever. That demonstrates your commitment to them. It demonstrates your commitment to your word. It demonstrates your commitment to quality. It also acknowledges that there was a deadline on X date, that you're not trying to thwart that particular deadline. You did know that there was one on that day. So I want you to start noticing how often you say sorry and consciously replace it with these empowering alternatives, because it's not just about changing a word. This is about transforming how you view yourself. It's about transforming how you view yourself in relationship to other people as well. I think a lot of times we have heightened sensitivity to others. We want to be perceived as polite. We don't want to be perceived as overly aggressive, especially as women. I'm sure that there's men watching here too, but I think a lot of times we want to be perceived as likable. So we might stick the word sorry in there because we think that it might make us more likable. That's not necessarily true. I just want you to know that that's not necessarily true. And I do have phrases for disarming narcissists for those of you who are dealing with narcissists, and you can get those at disarmthenarc.com. For those of you who are dealing with narcissists or high conflict personalities, you can get those at disarmthenarc.com. So grab those there, disarmthenarc.com, and make sure that when you're talking to people, you have eye contact, you're looking forward, you're looking straight, you speak clearly at a moderate pace, you use confident language. Don't use language that is sort of like maybe, or if you want to, or you don't have to, or just like be really confident in how you speak. You want to appear powerful. You have to be authentic. And you want to stand in your power and stay positive, believing in your abilities, believing in your self-worth. That naturally enhances your authority as well. How you appear to others, that really helps as well.
How do you garner instant respect from anyone, especially high conflict people, difficult people, people who you feel like make your life miserable, whether it's in a professional setting or a personal setting? I know I've been there. Believe me, in recent times, I had a narcissistic business partner, made my life miserable. So how do you turn things around? What phrases can you use when you feel like they're making things difficult for you, right? How can you be assertive when you feel like you just want to keep the peace? You're going along to get along. It's time to change that. So we're going to explore some power phrases that'll help you garner instant respect and empower you to stay true to yourself. So let's say you want to set some boundaries. I mean, you want to disengage from this kind of conversation. And it's important to focus on your own well-being and maintain a healthy environment. The first thing I want you to do when you are feeling like maybe somebody is taking advantage of you. Maybe it's in a workplace situation. You're feeling like maybe someone is taking credit for your hard work. So the first one is where you can say, I deserve credit for my contributions. I don't want this other person to take advantage of my hard work. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just you being assertive. So, and the second power phrase focuses on you being assertive. And it's time to stop suppressing your feelings. It's time to start acknowledging your own needs and emotions. You can really say, especially when somebody's trying to manipulate you, they're trying to guilt trip you, they're trying to use passive aggression. So, you can say, I understand your feelings, but I need to prioritize my own well-being too. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you don't need to apologize for that. That phrase honors both their emotions and your boundaries. It's about you claiming your own self-worth and not allowing anyone else to diminish that. You need to protect your own self-worth and your own health and your own well-being. Because what happens is when you start to have those leaky boundaries and you just go along to get along and you keep your mouth shut, you start to fester. You start to have resentments. It actually starts to eat away at your health. It actually starts to eat away at your mental health, your physical health. You think that maybe it's going to get better. Maybe they'll see how hard you're working. Maybe they'll see the goodness that you're pouring into them, but they don't. They just take all of that stuff that you're doing for them. They just take. And you end up feeling sucked dry. It never ends up being equitable. It never ends up being fair. They don't ever acknowledge all of the good things that you do for them. You think that at some point they're going to, but it just doesn't end up happening that way. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to end up the way that you think it's going to. Right now is the time that you need to make that decision. Right now is the time that you need to say, it's time to fish or cut bait. They're not going to change. You're the one that has to change. You're the one that has to make that decision. The only person that you can control is you. And if you're going to sit around and wait for them to acknowledge you, see your side, turn around, and make a difference for you, it's not going to happen. Focus on you, your self-care. And if you know what I'm saying, put an amen in the comments right now. Put amen in the comments right now. And join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, because that's where you need to be, with people who are going to support you. All right. And if you need phrases for disarming narcissists, go to disarmthenarc.com, because that's where you need to be, helping you help yourself. This is about protecting your own emotional well-being. And the next one is where you can say, this is what I've learned about myself in these situations. You can actually say that, this is what I've learned about myself in these situations. It's always okay to assert yourself. It's always okay. I always say, step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. You are completely course correcting. You are taking these baby steps to reclaim your power. That's what you're doing. This is about you empowering yourself, taking back your independence, and taking back your autonomy, your agency. This works in your family. When somebody else tries to control your decisions, you can confidently state that you are asserting your right to make decisions that are best for you. And that is always okay. Use these power phrases in these real life scenarios that it's going to help you. Use them when people at work are trying to take credit for your work, in a personal relationship, when somebody's trying to manipulate you or guilt trip you or employ power over you. A social situation, when somebody's trying to use condescending remarks. There's one more that I want to give you, and that is, thank you for sharing your concerns, but I believe that it would be more productive to direct our energy to finding solutions. Thanks for sharing your concerns, but let's focus on the problem. Even if they're being personal, you can just say, well, you know what? Thanks for the feedback, but let's focus on the problem at hand. Whatever it is that they say, don't take it personally. Don't allow yourself to be emotionally triggered, because that's what they want. They want to get under your skin. They're looking for that narcissistic supply. Don't forget that. So don't give it to them. Another one that's similar is something like, I understand your point, but I see it differently. Here's why. A bonus phrase for you. Like, just keep it away from you. Observe, don't absorb. Don't take it personally. Don't allow yourself to take it personally, because that's what they want. They're baiting you. And by the way, you can always allow yourself a moment to go process. You can even say, I need a moment to process this before I respond. Thanks for joining me. You have the power to step away. You have the power to transform high conflict situations into opportunities for growth and assertiveness.